What up, what up, what up? It's me. I'm live, Willie T, today, coming at you. Oh, I don't like how that. Let's see. Let's just turn that little box off. So you ain't got to see like two versions of me. Let's see here. Cameras. Webcam off. Off? No? Why? Why? Oh, there it is. Ha! Alright. Got that thing to be off. I think we could turn these off too. No? We could turn those off. Nope. Alright. Still getting the hang of this new little system here. So, hello. Welcome. I go live once a day. Try to go live once a day. I think we missed yesterday. Just got a little too busy. But we go live. Soon we'll start trying to do it at a specific time. We're trying to do like noon specifically, but just with everything the way it works right now, there's just so much going on. Different meetings and clients and all that good stuff. So it's really hard to pin it down. But we'll make sure we go live when we can. Hopefully the audio is coming through. It looks like audio is working through well. Looks like everything's on. And I even have my mushrooms dancing with me. Okay, yeah, yep, you see it. You see it. Dancing mushrooms. That's what we do here. Because we got a lot of mushroom love around here. So, yeah. Good to see y'all. So, a couple first shows. I was coming in hot, right? That's the song, you know, coming in hot. Right? Get demonetized here. And that's just the nature of who I am, you know. I have always been a salesperson since before I knew I was a salesperson. You know, well, my history, like I was winning the contest for who could sell the most candy bars at school. I was winning that often. One year, I actually outsold the winner, and the teacher had noticed. One of the teachers had noticed, but the school had awarded this other kid as the number one seller, even though I had sold way more bars than him. So the teacher ended up buying me a bicycle, and I thought that was like just a great memory that I personally had. And I never had a bicycle until then, so that was pretty cool. So I rode the hell out of that bicycle. That's not completely true. I had bicycles before then, but nobody ever bought or gave me one. Yeah, I was a troubled kid. All right, and that's the thing is, you know, we all have the stories, and that's why we're doing this channel. Is to share our stories, and not just for me to share my stories with you. I also do this for my loved ones. I'm going to be sharing a lot of the stories of myself through this channel, so my loved ones have something to see as they grow up, and to know that I love them, and hear the stories that made me who I am, made me do the things I do, because it's been a long journey, you know, a lot of pain and turmoil that I wasn't really aware of when I was younger, that manifest into just blind rage, you know. America's Most Wanted, you know, menace to society, like, you know, that was me before. When I was 24, I didn't think I was ever going to see the age of 24. I thought by 24 I was gone. And obviously I've seen well past that now, and I've been able to grow a lot and overcome a lot of my issues that haunted me, you know. In one of the earlier programs I had mentioned, you know, my distrust in the police. You know, this came from being a young man, being, you know, homeless, and, you know, being constantly harassed, taking, all of my possessions, claiming that they were stolen, and putting them in the evidence and keeping them in evidence for months on months on months, while I'm constantly trying to get these items back. These are my school books for school, because I was in an alternative school. I think I was only 15 or 16 at the time. The very few clothes I had, and I could never get those back. And finally, they told me that they had destroyed them. And a lot of these things, built up over the years. And then once I got into activism and became a cannabis activist, they just kind of overcame. And eventually, I was able to sit down and have enough conversations and understandings with people that I started to see them for their humanity, And that's what a lot of this is about. A lot of this is about just opening up the space. So I like to invite anybody to join us. You could join digitally. Tell your stories. We love to hear your stories. We love to hear stories about overcoming difficult moments in our lives, and mainly finding that balance. Like today we're so, we have such narratives that we're so pinned to different ideologies that we're stuck in this moments of like, what ideology is that? What ideology are you? You think this way, so you must think this way about this. You think that way, so you must think about this way. And I think when we start opening up the conversations and having more moments where we're sharing ideas, discussing, issues that we feel strongly about, and then furthermore, taking the time to listen, but not just listen to respond. Listen to understand. Listen to hear and have an empathy for the people we're hearing from, And if we can do that, it's not that we have to completely change the way someone else thinks about something or anything like that. It's just finding that balance of what they're saying, the balance of everything. Not everything is so this way or that way, inherently good or inherently evil. Life is, an array of grays. It's an array of colors. And there's so many different ways we can solve issues in our world. We can talk about different things and understand more from each other. It's when we shut down and we don't listen to one another and we just instantly excuse someone else because we feel their ideologies don't, correspond with mine, that we get turned away and we don't have these conversations. And then with current social media and algorithms, we end up stuck in silos where we're just constantly surrounded by the people that would agree with us, because that's what keeps us engaged to their platform. And another way to stay engaged to the platform, though, is also showing you things that are going out of control, because you tend to watch that stuff. We tend to watch that stuff. I tend to watch it. Everybody does. And so having these open conversations and allowing spaces to have open conversations, I think, is important. It's one of the tenets for our Psilocybin Facilitators Association. We host a meeting every weekend, and some weekends, we don't have anybody show up. Some weeks we have 15, 16 people show up. The idea is having that space always available. So when you are having that bad day, you can show up, and you're going to know people are going to listen to you. And you're going to know that they're not only just going to listen so they can respond, they're actually going to hear what you say and feel and have that empathy for you. And sometimes that's what it's about. And so that's what we strive to do here. So I appreciate you guys tuning in on any one of our platforms. You can find us on YouTube, right? Oh, see, here I go, doing the sales pitchy thing. What I was mentioning earlier was I'm really trying to get away from that. I know, um, being super animated, coming in, what's up? We're live. Is fun and exciting, but I want to have some real conversations. I want to have some real conversations about the state of our world. I want to have some real conversations about the potentials of psilocybin in healing. And I want to have some real conversations about what it means to be on this planet. And when I say that, I know that some people go, oh, he going to be talking about that climate change. Oh, that's one of those red button push issues that you push that button or the red one or the blue one. Which one do you push? And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had by all, even if you don't believe in it. Even if you don't believe it's man-made or this or that, there's different aspects to it that you have to step out and look at it and be like, listen, yeah, plastics are everywhere. You don't have to go very far from where I'm at right now and just take a couple sand, buckets full and find out how much plastic is just in that. And so that's an important conversation to have. Plus, I have little ones. My son goes to the beach and picks up garbage for fun. That's his fun. He likes to pick up garbage. I should have had the clip because he has a beautiful clip. It was one of our test ones. You might be able to find it on one of our pages. I don't think I deleted it because he was so cute. He actually said it. He had a message for everybody to pick up your dog poop and take it with you and put it in the garbage. Because these are the small things that we care about, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things you guys care about, and I'm open to have these conversations because what we do over here in Oregon, I'm a licensed psilocybin service provider. That means I went to school, I graduated, I was approved by the state, I was approved to open my service center. Which is kind of what I want to highlight today, is how blessed I was to have my service center open separately from, but still in the same space as our head shop. It brings joy to me to think that I'm an actual head shop you can actually do for real psilocybin at legally in Oregon, and with the conversation and news coming out with, a lot of fake products out there, it's really beautiful thing to be because a lot of fake products are on the market that are, trying to get into this conversation. But what they're trying to do is just push a small microdose so you hopefully buy more, But our goal in our services is to really dive down deep and hopefully find the pieces that you're not aware are causing the issues. Like my own story, for instance, I grew up in the South. I was a young Southern boy. I was definitely the minority in my class. I didn't know this. We didn't see it like that, I just had some great friends and I love life. And one day, my dad picked me up from school, and he told me, he said, you see, I was always getting sick from living in the South. I'm just always sick up here now, and I know why. I went to Tennessee, and they used this big needle thing, and they were poking my back to find out all the things I was allergic to. One of those things were mold, dust, and cats. And I like cats, but get me around a cat and I'm dying, And so they tested me. They showed that I was allergic to mold. So my dad says, hey, you want to move up north where there's not that much mold? You'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, this would be great. And then he's like, okay, cool. Well, pack your shit. Let's go. We're going now, And in that moment, I was like, okay, packed up everything, We took off. I left a box of my toys. I don't know why. I guess I was still playing with them or something, but I left them in the room accidentally. And so I left all my toys behind, right? And I was just young. I was like 8 or 9 years old, right? And for years, I was always upset about really the toys, you know, and I ended up getting in a lot of trouble. Became kind of a troublemaker in my teenage years. Ended up getting caught for being a troublemaker, like serious troublemaker. I mean, I was 12 years old and we were stealing coats from college kids and running their credit cards at restaurants and to buy Legos. Like, that's how bad it was, you know. And when I got caught, I'll never forget, because in my mind I was like, you know, all these people are gonna, you know, feel bad because your dad's gone. So use it, right? And I did. I felt like at 12, like I was using it. I was like, oh yeah, no, my dad's gone. That's why I'm so angry. And I didn't really know at the time, like that was true. It was truth. You know, I thought I was using it just to get out of trouble, but it actually was the real truth. You know, I was really hurt. I was really feeling abandoned. You know, my childhood was pretty much gone in an instant, overnight. You know, and you know, we went from, you know, my dad having this box of Ninja Turtles, you know, the most prized possession you could have, to, you know, used books for Christmas. You know, we got one of those aircraft carriers, which I just absolutely adored, but it actually had nothing in it. You know, it had no jets or no nothing. It had like 2 little army men, you know. So like, you know, we were growing up really poor, and I was feeling very abandoned, you know, by these issues. And I didn't realize, you know, at that time, it wasn't until I was 35 years old and proceeded to start taking psychedelics drastically. I was just trying to forget who I was. I was trying to permanently alter me, or possibly, you know, please get help if you need it. But I was, you know, trying to do something, and it never happened, because these things don't work like that. But through those sessions, through those moments with myself, I started to really find myself, and I started to unravel those deep-rooted feelings of abandonment, and started to realize that a lot of my issues, my distrust for people, the way I would cut people off, or the way that I would push people away who loved me, all came from just those feelings of abandonment. And those feelings are something I could never really get rid of. It wasn't something that I could just remove. You know, pain, you know, different pains last, you know, forever. But if you know, keep going forward, and you understand what the pain is, it doesn't then control you, because the pain still exists. But now it's how you interact to the pain. And when you know what the pain is, and you know where the pain is coming from, you're able to circumvent it a little bit better. You know, in my older age, I've had moments where I was feeling some kind of way because of, you know, specific deals or different things that were going down. And those pains came up inside of me. And I'll never forget my lady kind of looking at me and being like, hey, you know, well, why you feel this way, or you feel so bad? And, you know, she's hypothesizing all the reasons why I felt so bad. And I just straight up, like, I know I feel bad because I feel like I'm being abandoned here, and I have abandonment issues, and therefore it's got me off, you know. And it's going to have me off for a day, you know, but I'll be back. And within a day or two, I got it back together. Things are moving forward. And it no longer was like taking big chunks of my life. And that's how we get over these things. Like, that's how we learn to adapt to them. And, you know, that's what I was able to gain through my own psychedelic experiences, was, having an understanding. One of the things that even recently that I understood through a recent experience, I mean, less than a year ago, was a deep understanding of my father actually loving me, because that was another thing I didn't really think of. Well, if he left, well, he probably didn't love me, right? And inside of a LSD experience, I had I just went right back to a moment where we were on a battleship together, and I could actually see him in the tube of the thing. And I know this because I know that picture exists. Like, I've seen that picture of my face looking that he had took, through the thing. And so through that psychedelic experience, I was now seeing his face. Like, I was back in that moment where I could see him, and I could see the love he had for me. And I must have sounded like a crazy man because I was laughing and I was crying and I was laughing and crying because I was coming to terms with this, and I was laughing about how stupid I was to think that my Ninja Turtles was such a part of this, that losing my toys was such an important part that my child, and it really wasn't. Deep down inside, the bottom line was I thought my dad didn't love me, and laughing at the fact that, like, how can you even feel that way, and knowing that the things he bought me was his way of showing it. And yeah, how he got them was illegitimate, and that's why, he was on the run. That's why we had to move all of a sudden at night, because my dad was on the run. He was not a very good guy in that sense. He made a lot of mistakes, and he had to serve his time for them, And they eventually caught him, and he got out, and we found out he was buried a few weeks after, which broke my heart, because that was also when I asked my grandmother a couple weeks before she passed away what some of her happier moments in her life was. And not unfortunately, but the two things she brought up was when she lost her husband Lear, which would have been my grandpa, and then when we went looking for my father's grave, and we searched all over that graveyard trying to find his headstone, and so that was her memory, and she remembered that in her passing. And so yeah, the laughter I got from that experience, thinking like, oh my gosh, I thought it was this one thing, but really deep down inside it was something completely different. And that's what the psychedelics showed me, and it's not just psychedelics. I'm not here to preach like psychedelics is the only way to achieve this. Like, you can achieve this from just deep thought. Go spend 3 days in the woods and just be in deep thought. Some can achieve it through prayer, meditation, different other ways. Some of us prefer, and we've had these experiences psychedelically, and that's how I've achieved mine. And they were really healing. And from those moments, now I could heal. Now I can know, what's triggering me. And it's the trigger, because what happens is, scientifically, we have this part of our brains called the default mode network, and the default mode network is a wonderful piece. I want to show this, so I'm going to try to pop this open and get an image here. I can't spell neuro pathways. There we go. Oh, come on. He's got a lot of great talks. You could definitely find it out. Let's see. Let's try this. Let's try different things. Brain on psychedelics. Let's do this. Okay. All right. Here it is. Come on. Don't have to show you guys like, gosh, this is a long story. Okay, here it is. And then we will move it over here. There it is. Okay, and then we're going to click on this. Boom. All right. So, what we have here is a study done by Robin Carhart Harris. You can always look this up. And this is the visualization of connections of the brain of a person on psilocybin and a person who's not given the drug. And they did a study. So the beautiful thing to see in this is on the left here is the brain has neural pathways, and we tend to run these neural pathways regularly. Like this is what's known as the default mode network. And the default mode network, it's great because what it does is it houses how we protect ourselves. The default mode network also houses how we see ourselves and how we see others seeing us. Okay? And the beautiful thing that happens during a psychedelic experience is this default mode network kind of goes to sleep. Once that happens, our brain starts talking to different parts. Now, there are just as many lines on the left as there is on the right. But what's happening on the right is now your brain is talking to all of its parts. Different parts are talking to different parts that normally don't talk. And that makes for some fun stuff like, smelling colors or feeling sounds. But what it also does is it gives us the ability to see things from a different perspective, a different understanding, and really truly thinking about it through a different perspective. Because our default mode network definitely protects us. When we were younger and we were there we go. And when we were younger and we had these things like my personal abandonment, that created a wall. And that wall was there to protect me. And so whenever something would arise where my brain would say, hey, this is kind of like when you got abandoned, it would throw up a trigger. It would throw up a protective layer, a protective barrier. Fight or flight, fight or flight, fight, flight, or freeze. And that's what would happen. And so inside discovering these things and discovering what our barriers are in our default mode network, we're able to really kind of get a better grasp in finding that balance from those struggles. And that's what's beautiful. I also wanted to pull up another image that I thought was kind of great here. Let's see, right here. It's on this open page right here. But yeah, so that's the actual study. And I can't ever say this. I'm not, unfortunately, that's out of my scientific privy. Plus, most of the words. This is something you're going to have to get used for me, okay? I'm just going to tell you guys this straight up. I did not grow up around educated people, okay? I grew up around very poor areas. Most families couldn't make median incomes. So a lot of the words I used was when I was young and dumb, found myself in prison for a gun possession charge. And I read the dictionary. And so I learned a lot of these words through the dictionary. The problem is I had no one to pronunciate these for me. See, I can't even say pronunciate correctly. So there's a lot of words I'm familiar with, and I don't know how to actually properly say them. I'm getting a lot better at this, but it happens. So this is one of those words. The yeah, I mean, I can't even. It's a joke. Come on, we could split this up and laugh about this later. The babla, the gotta, blah blah blah, whatever. All right, but you can see it right there. There's the back part of the brain, and that is, you can come in, and that is, that is an important part of our brain. That's where it houses our default mode network. It's one of the oldest parts of our brain, and what it does is it protects us. If it's also how we know how to walk, right? So if you start, you don't have to think about how to walk. You don't have to think like, let me extend my leg, push forward and bounce, get the knee to bounce, right? We just walk. But the same thing happens for, like, if we were walking in the clearing and all of a sudden there was a big opening and there was a lion there. If we sat there and we said to ourselves, ooh, look, there's a lion there. Oh, let me remember, back in the day, I remember my neighbor got eaten by a lion. That was pretty horrific. I should probably run. Well, how do I run? I'm going to extend my foot out. I'm going to push forward with my knee. By then, you're already getting ate by the lion. Lion done already ate you. So that's where the default mode network kicks in. Run from the lion. The lion's there. And this is housed in us modernly with more simpler problems. Instead of your friend getting eaten by a lion, when you're 5 years old, your friend moves away. To us as adults, it don't seem like a big deal. To a child, that's the world. Your world just left. That can be the beginning of a trigger, of a block, that's going to have your default mode network running a specific way. So back to the image. That's what it is. Right there is the brain lit up. You can see how the brain is talking to different areas of the brain that are more open, more wide, and a lot of beautiful things happen when under the psychedelic experience, and that's what's going on there. If you ever get a chance to, this is Robin Carhart Harris. Please take a look at his TED Talk. I think I think we could actually play it. They might give me a little strike, but I don't care. Information is good. And, once again, go to TED Talks, support their page. You guys, they got some great stuff. But let me make sure that you guys can actually hear this. Let's see, audio, doing my switch here, and doing this, and, oh, I was trying to push the play button on the wrong screen. Okay. That was probably so loud, I'm sorry.
It's easy to be captivated by the world out there. It's a fascinating place. It's deserving of this attention. But what if we were to invert our focus and look inside? What would we find?
No.
Well, I study psychedelic drugs for a living, and the reason why I do this, apart from good fortune, is because I think they're special. And the reason why I think they're special is that I believe they have a unique ability to reveal to us the very depths of our minds. Dreams and perhaps a select few other states may hint at what lies beyond the reaches of normal consciousness. But psychedelics, in my view, are really unrivaled in their ability to do this. Now, many of you will be familiar with the word psychedelic, but I doubt so many of you are familiar with its origins or what it means. So psychedelic was a word that was coined in the 1950s by the British psychiatrist Humphrey Osmond with reference to this class of drugs that I study. And it combines two Greek words, psyche and delos, which when put together mean to make the mind manifest or to reveal the soul. Now, I've been fascinated by psychology for most of my adult life, but one question that has always bugged me is why can't it prove the existence of the unconscious mind? Is it because it doesn't exist? Or is it because it's especially difficult to see? Now, I've come to believe quite strongly that it's the latter, but then the key question is, how can we make it easier to see? Freud famously told us about dreams, how they're a window in on the unconscious, a royal road. But the problem is dreaming happens while we're asleep. And then when we wake up, all we're left with is this flimsy memory of what we actually experienced. So it was while I was studying for my master's that I found myself asking whether a drug exists that can facilitate access to the unconscious mind. I did a brief library search and I came across this book, Realms of the Human Unconscious, Observations from LSD Research, written by the Czech psychiatrist Stanislav Grof in 1975. So I swiftly took this book out of the library, I brought it back to my room, I opened it, and I read. Many of the phenomena in these LSD sessions could be understood in psychological and psychoanalytic terms. They had a structure not dissimilar to that of dreams. And Freud once said of dreams that they are a royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious mind, but to an even greater degree, this seems to be true for the LSD experience. And then finally, the capacity of psychedelic drugs to exteriorize otherwise invisible phenomena and make them the subject of scientific investigation gives these substances a unique potential as research tools for the exploration of the human mind. It does not seem inappropriate or an exaggeration to compare their potential significance for psychiatry and to psychology to that of the microscope for medicine or the telescope for astronomy. So as you can imagine, after reading these things, I was filled with a very strong sense of purpose and direction. I wrote to Professor David Nutt, then at the University of Bristol, and I told him I wanted to study the brain on LSD and to see whether it looks like the dreaming brain. Anyway, David was kind enough to allow me to join his team, and then 4 years later I completed my PhD with him. And soon after that, I was lucky enough to begin some quite exciting brain imaging research with psychedelic drugs. First with psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, and more recently with LSD. Now, it's quite difficult to explain to people how psychedelic drugs work in the brain, and it's hard to try and do that in 18 minutes. So instead, what I'm going to do is show you a few pictures and give you a few analogies to think about. So what we're looking at here are communication pathways in the brain. Each line is a communication pathway between two different regions in the brain. And believe it or not, there's actually an equal number of lines or pathways in each of these two circles, yet they look very different, don't they? Essentially, what we're seeing is the normal brain on the left, where communication is confined to particular communities or cliques in the brain. So, for example, visual regions are talking mostly with other visual regions. This is what happens ordinarily. Then we look at the psychedelic brain on the right. There's much less of this cliquing and much more of an open, freer conversation going on across the brain. Another useful way to think of how psychedelics work in the brain is to think of what it's like to be an infant, experiencing everything as novel, feeling emotionally labile, one minute you're laughing and the next you're crying, having a wildly overactive imagination, being mesmerized by the likes of Iggle Piggle or Macca Pacca. It's no coincidence, therefore, that if you look at how the brain develops as we develop from infancy into adulthood, and you compare that with how the brain changes under a psychedelic, what you see are kind of mirror opposites. So instead of a brain becoming more sophisticated as we develop, more finessed, but also more constrained, you have a brain that is simpler and freer in its functioning. The third useful way to think of how psychedelics work in the brain is to think of the dream state. Here we're looking at the effect of LSD on the brain. And what we're seeing is that much more of the brain contributes to the visual experience under LSD than it does ordinarily. And this effect actually correlated very strongly with the dreamlike visions that people reported under LSD when their eyes were closed. So we could think of both of these states, the dream state and the psychedelic state, as conditions where the brain becomes untethered or unanchored from incoming sensory information. And then in this state, it can operate in a more anarchic, freewheeling kind of way, conjuring up imagery from the very depths of the mind and the brain, rather than relying on sensory information coming into the brain.
Squarespace's creative tools let you design a unique, engaging website that fits your personal style and professional needs. Start your free website trial.
All right, and get my audio back. I think my audio is good. Let me double check on everything. Yep, my audio is good. Clicking that, raw, and switching back on that. All right, sweet. So yeah, that's another. You gotta watch the full thing. Please go check it out on TED Talks. Sorry for posting you guys this video, but it's just too important to talk about, the ability to be like in the dream state, the ability to see the world through kind of a younger version of your eyes, a more open world, a more accepting, more learning. And I've watched this happen with any client of any age. People experience this all the time through these experiences. And in doing so, that's where we find a lot of the potential for healing a lot of our traumas, our past. And also just simply finding a balance to life. It's not just about healing from your traumas and your past and all of the structure. Sometimes just dealing with day-to-day life, day-to-day working life can be difficult. And I find a lot of my clients gain a lot of perception to balancing their life, because far too many of us end up living fully in the work mode, and even when we're away from work, we're still in that work mode, and that's one of the biggest things we try to teach a lot of our clients is like finding that present mode and not just being stuck in that work mode forever. We can't change if your boss is going to be an asshole or not. Like that's up to your boss. But I am impressed by how many people all of a sudden find empathy for their asshole boss. That's always a beautiful thing to see. But the thing is finding that balance, so that way when you leave that workplace and you're driving down the road, that boss is no longer pulling from you. And you're in that present moment where you're driving down the road and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to get home. And then all of a sudden you get cut off. Deal with that in that moment. Be angry in that moment. Being angry or being upset is not something taboo. That's something you should never experience. It's a natural human emotion, and you should naturally be able to experience that emotion. The key, though, is to make sure that you don't take that emotion into the next emotion. When you walk into the door and you're in your next present moment and you're home with friends eating some pizza or something like that, and it's really good, you're really enjoying it. Don't be stuck on, oh man, my boss is such an asshole today and I got cut off and my day is just going horrible. But you're eating pizza with your friends, you're having a great time. Be present in that moment. And that's one of the things we work on here. The one of the things I am constantly trying to find balance on, and it's tough. We're building this business, we're building this industry from nothing. We're trying to navigate rules. We're very much part of the rule process. Working with the state. We're trying to navigate how to make these businesses successful, how to even market them, how to talk about them. And it's a lot of stress. But it's like, we got to remind ourselves that even in that stress, we take that moment to be in that present moment. And that's why I'm presently with you guys right now, just to take a few moments every day, be present for a moment, do a live stream, spend an hour talking about our experiences, talking about what we're doing, listening to your stories, listening to what you guys have overcome, and spreading the message of just finding that balance. No matter how you find it, find that balance. Life is too short to be angry all the time. Life is too short to be lost. Life is too short to be upset. Life is too short to be scared. Life is too short to be happy. The point of life is to have all of these emotions, and to be able to overcome every single one of these emotions when we have them, and to be able to balance them in our lives, and that's what we're here to do. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, checking this out. Now I can do the pitchy mode stuff. Don't forget to check us out at all the different things we're on, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We have a few different ones that we're on. Don't forget to tune in to any of those. I'm trying to find the little pop-up here, and I can't find the little pop-up. No. All right, so we're just going to roll with the happy whale right there. Happy whale today. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for coming in, checking us out, and thanks for tuning in. And find us again, and y'all have a good day. We're going to be rolling out.